right? Sometimes it happens, and that's the reason we broadcast live. So all those devotees who can't join on this particular time, they catch up on YouTube live as and when they need to, right? Great. So let's start with Mangalacharan. First of all, let me just get into the full mode so everybody could see. So what we're doing is overview. We have done Bhagavad-Gītā before. We have done the series of self-discovery. And now we are doing the overview of Srimad Bhagavad-Gītā. And this is a presentation done by Amrit Anand Prabhuji in Seattle in America. And Prabhuji is very nice. So if anybody visits Seattle, you could meet him. Or if in case he will travel to London, I will let you know. I haven't seen him around recently, but it's always good. It's always good to be in association of devotees. So Bhagavad-Gītā, the overview we are doing, which is great, and then we will go into detail. Krishna is giving some answers to Arjun, right? And that's why it's so important to ask questions, because all our Vedic culture is about question and answers. Ask as many as questions possible. There is no silly question, no absurd question. You can ask anything which comes into mind. There are many renditions, many different versions of Bhagavad-Gītā in the market, even though there is only one Bhagavad-Gītā. And Bhagavad-Gītā as it is the most famous one. So the Sanskrit verses are the same, doesn't really matter where we get the Bhagavad-Gītā from. Then the English translation should be very much aligned to the Sanskrit, but then the purport, what those Sanskrit verses, English translation really mean, with a lot of explanations, are explained in what we call purports. And these purports in Bhagavad-Gītā as it is are given by founder Acharya of International Society of Krishna Consciousness, which is renownedly known as ISKCON, and he's called His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. Right. And this is the Mangalacharan. Before we start the session, we always do Mangalacharan. Mangala is auspiciousness, right? And it says Charan. So as you can see, Krishna is there and Arjun is there. Whenever we need to ask for something, we always take the submissive mood. We don't challenge. So usually we go in the feet, and I will tell you a quick story about it, but after Mangalacharan. So feel free, please, all of you, join me in Mangalacharan, and then we will resume the session. So here we go. Swayam Rupa Dadati Swapadakya Vandeham Shri Yudhapad Kamalam Shri Guru Vishnuvam Shri Rupam Sagrijatam Sahagana Raghunatha Vitam Tam Sahitam Sadhu Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Sahagana Lalita Shri Shakhavitam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dīnabhastu Jagaspate Gopisai Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kancana Gaurangi Vrindavaneshwari Vrishvanu Sharmami Hare Priya Vanchakalpa Sindhu Eva Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Bhutale Srimate
Bhakti Vedanta Swami
Namaste Saraswati
Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine
Jai Shri Krishna
Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda
Shri
Shri
Advaita
Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasari Gaurabhakta
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, ki jai. Jai Jai Shri Radhe Shyam Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna. And welcome Krish. Krish is also here with us. So good to have you, Krish. So it might be new for you, Krish. So feel free to sit back, relax, and enjoy the session. But anytime, any question you would like to ask, feel free and mute yourself, raise your virtual hand, write in the chat, whichever means is suitable and comfortable to you. Hare Krishna. So now, because we got Jay and we got Adi as well, I know both of you love doing kirtan. So I wonder if you have a quick kirtan. Would you like to do that, please?
Yes.
All right, great. All right, Jay, you start and then maybe Adi can join as well. So the way kirtan goes, Jay will say Mahamantra once. So Jay will say 3 times, but when he will say once, we all will repeat after him. Then he will say second time, then we will repeat after him. Then he will say third time, then we all repeat after him. And then we will go to Adi. Is that good?
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, yes, please.
Since I've not been here for a long time, I've kind of forgotten it.
No worries. Well, it's just the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, but that's
okay.
Okay, are you good with that?
Yes.
All right, great. Yes, we will just do Hare Krishna Mahamantra for now.
Should I start?
Okay, yes. When you're ready, Jay.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Everyone together now. We are going to follow. Shivani, yes, go for it, please. Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare
Rama, Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Jay. That was very nice.
Thank you.
And thank you, Shivani, for following up. Adi, would you like to do that, please?
Yes, please.
Sure.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Hare,
Hare
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama
Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama
Rama
Hare.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Adi. So nice. So good to hear from you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Raphael. Thank you. Right. So let's continue with the session. We have been discussing from where the philosophy comes in. We have discussed the whole history of Kuru family. So anyone who wasn't there for, this is the third session in the overview. So what we're doing at the moment is the overview of the Bhagavad-Gītā. And if you have missed the last two sessions, especially the last session, then we have gone into the detail of Kuru families, then it's available on YouTube. So feel free to do the catch up on that. We did discuss the sandwich. The way we have Bhagavad-Gītā, there are 18 chapters. We split all those 18 chapters into three. The first 6 chapters, the middle 6 chapters, and the last 6 chapters. The first 6 chapters on Karma Yoga, the action, what we are supposed to do, what we do day in, day out in our life. And then the middle, they are the bhakti. This is the essence, the devotion. And then right at the end, we have the jnana, the knowledge. So the action at the front, the knowledge at the end, and in between, we join all these together, how to do the knowledge, how to possess that knowledge through which we do the actions, which are considered as devotional services, what we call bhakti yoga, right? So if you think of a cheese sandwich, you have the bread on the top, you have the bread at the bottom, but in the middle, you have the cheese, right? And that's how it is. So you have the karma, actions in the beginning, and you have jnana, knowledge at the end. But what's the most important bit of Bhagavad-Gītā? That's between chapter 7 and chapter 12, right? And chapter 9 is titled Most Confidential Topic, Most Confidential Knowledge of Bhagavad-Gītā, right? So think about that. That's what we're going to discuss. We have discussed very briefly the 4 acharyas, from which, so they have their own purpose written. Srila Prabhupada ji read all of them and put together Bhagavad-Gītā as it is, which we refer. Now there are 700 verses. We have discussed this, that 574 verses was spoken by Krishna. Arjun, 84. Mainly Arjun either asked the questions or Arjun confirmed. Arjun paraphrased back to Krishna that Krishna, you said this and I understood this. Could you please confirm that my understanding is correct? That's what Arjun been doing as a student. and Krishna as a teacher gives all the answers. So Arjun is asking these questions on our behalf. And these questions are very important even till today, even though this conversation between Krishna and Arjun happened how many years back? Anyone? Come on, give me a number, Shivani. You unmuted yourself. Oh, Jay is saying something. Yes, please.
Roughly. 600 years ago.
600 years ago. Okay. Well, 500 years ago, roughly, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ji came. Krishna lived 424 years. When Krishna left the planet, Krishna was 124. But this conversation happened at the beginning of Kali Yuga, which is the Yuga. So we have Satyug, we have Dwapar, we have Treta, and we have Kali Yuga. How many years we are in Kali Yuga? 5,000 years. We will see all these calculations, how we reach to it in chapter 4, the first few verses, right? When Krishna says, I gave this knowledge to Lord's son. And then Arjun will ask few questions. So 5,000 years back, and it says 5,474 years, roughly. We said last year 5,000 years back. We saying this year 5,000. Even next year we will say 5,000. So we just say average, roughly, not the average, sorry. The roughly, the approximate 5,000 years back, this conversation happened. And Kali Yuga, the Yuga we are in, that started 5,000 years back. And it started where Srimad Bhagavatam started, where Maharaj Parikshit came in and started asking a lot of questions. And we will see that as well when we'll finish Bhagavad-Gītā. But Sanjay also spoke 41 verses, but basically Sanjay is observing the conversation while sitting with Dhritarashtra, right? Because Dhritarashtra couldn't see, and that's why Sanjay could see, and Sanjay is giving everything. Sanjay got like a CCTV in his camera. Now, anyone knows how come Sanjay could see? Because battlefield was so far away. How come Sanjay? Yes, please, Shivani.
I think that one rishi gave the power of the sight that while you're in your palace, you can see it to I can't remember the blind king's name, but the blind Dhritarashtra, but Dhritarashtra said that he didn't want to see his children die when he doesn't even know how they looked like from the childhood. So he said that he gave it to his trusted chariot.
That's right. Yes. Thank you. Adi, do you remember the name of the sage who gave what we call Divya Drishti, the magical power to see, to Sanjay?
I'm
pretty sure you know.
I think it was Lord Krishna.
Lord Krishna, yes, he was actually Lord Krishna, but Lord Krishna had many incarnations, and one of them was Ved Vyas. So Ved Vyas was the one who gave this Divya Drishti, the spiritual vision, to Sanjay. And then Dhritarashtra only spoke one verse. Anyone remembers which verse? Out of 700 verse, which verse was spoken by Dhritarashtra? All right. The very first verse of Bhagavad-Gītā was spoken by Dhritarashtra. And we have discussed this as well. Right? Yes, please, Shivani.
Next Sunday, I'm going to do a performance for Gita Jayanti, and we're going to recite some verses. And we were actually reciting few main verses, and one of our main verses was 1.1.
1.1, great. Do you remember that verse?
I think so.
Okay, wait, I will request you to say. All right, great. So we discuss. Shivani, I will come back to you as soon as we will reach to that verse, which is very soon. So if you think about it, we have seen this chapter 12, chapter 15, chapter 18, the most important chapters in Bhagavad-Gītā. Everything is important, but these chapters are there, which we repeat again and again throughout the year. So we will see why. But because December is celebrated as, or one of the day in December is celebrated as Gita Jayanti. The reason being, it was the month of December when this conversation happened between Krishna and Arjuna. And if we say the timing, it was roughly 40 minutes. The whole conversation between Krishna and Arjuna happened for 40 minutes. But of course, those 40 minutes were very different than the 40 minutes we have these days. The time was relative. Well, time is still relative, but it was relatively shorter. So they, in condensed time, they could do a lot. Yes, Shivani?
I think, I'm not sure if it's 1.1, but it's the one which starts with Dhritarashtra Vacha.
That's the one actually, because Dhritarashtra only watched Sanskrit and English mixed. Yes. So first chapter in Bhagavad-Gītā is observing the armies on the battlefield. So Krishna and Arjuna, they are in the middle of two armies, Kauravas on one side, Pandavas on other, right? If you remember this, then this is Kuru. And then we have Pandavas, Dhritarashtra and Gandharis. So these are Kauravas on one side, and then Pandu, their 5 sons, they were on one side. So Pandus on one side, and the Pandavas on one side, and Kurus on one side. Yeah. And what we're saying now is that the first verse was spoken by Dhritarashtra. Now, Shivani, if you would like, you could recite that word. Dhritarashtra Vacha. All right, Shivani is coming back. Okay, let Shivani come back whenever she is. Would you like to recite that verse?
Okay, I'm not sure if I remember it, but
no worries.
Dhritarashtra Vacha evam satasa yuktaye. I actually think this is a different verse.
Well, you got Bhagavad-Gītā on your table if you like to refer it. But
yeah,
you were right. So the very first verse is by Dhritarashtra, and Dhritarashtra is inquiring from Sanjay, what did they do?
No, it's a different verse.
So Dhritarashtra is asking Sanjay, and now Sanjay is going to narrate everything he's going to see, right? And this is where Bhagavad-Gītā starts. This is how Bhagavad-Gītā starts. The whole Bhagavad-Gītā is a conversation between Krishna and Arjuna, but Sanjay is narrating all that to Dhritarashtra. And Dhritarashtra only asked the very first verse, and basically he said a few things, but the main thing in his verse was, what did they do? What did my sons did? What did the Pandavas they did? So how far they are? Have they begun the war? And now, first, yes, please, Shivani.
The translation, I think, is Dhritarashtra said, O Sanjaya, after assembling in the place of pilgrimage at Kurukshetra, what did my son and all the sons of Pandus do, being distrustous to the fight? That's
right. Thank you for reading that. The whole essence of that is that basically he's asking, what did they do? So what my sons and what Pandu's sons, what Pandavas and Kurus, what they did. And now this is what we are starting. This slide, if we see, this slide summarizes the verse. So chapter 1, verses 2 to 11. And these verses, if we see, anybody would like to read what it says on the slide, please? Adi, would you like to read the first one? All right, okay, Devesh unmuted himself.
Yes, please. Could I speak also?
Okay, yes, sure. All right, Adi, maybe you read the first one, please, and then Devesh or Devika, I'm not sure which one it is. Devika, all right, great, Devika, good to have you. All right, Adi, would you like to start, please?
Yes. Durya describes army formation of both sides.
Thank you.
He is an expert politician and a diplomat,
requesting his army to support Bhishma.
Great. Thank you, Adi. Thank you, Devika. And thank you, Devesh. Very nicely. So from verse 2nd to verse 11th of chapter 1, basically, this is Duryodhan. Duryodhan is speaking to Bhishma, his which is great-great-great-grandfather, and his teacher as well. And he's just explaining how the army is looking like, right? So we can, because we are not Kshatriyas, we are not expert in military, we don't really need to get into that. However, when we will do verse by verse, Bhagavad-Gītā after overview, then we will see all that detail as well. But basically, he's asking for all the support. And there's a great learning the way he presented the information. And there's a lot of learning we can do in that respect, which we will do when we will do verse by verse. Now, that's what he does until 11th verse. From 12th verse, what are they going to do? The grandfather Bhishma, he's actually great-great-great-grandfather, Bhishma blows his conch shell. And this is how they used to signal that now the war has begun. Now they could start fighting. Before that, they wouldn't. Now it's not only that the one person will do, he was the military command, he was the chief, so he started it, but many others would also do. So verse 14, Lord Krishna enters in the battlefield, right? So then Arjun said, oh, now, because until now, Arjun was actually thinking, oh, because Arjun didn't want to fight, because Arjun and Pandavas, they were very pious people. They were devotees of Krishna. They wanted peace. They didn't want to fight, but there was no other alternative left. So until this point, he thought, maybe we will not go into the war, even though they were there. But when that count shall begin, then he said, I could hear that voice. And that means now it has started. And then Arjun requested Krishna, then I want to see what's happening here. Let's go in the middle of both armies. I would like to see. And then Arjun is taking the chariot Krishna takes the chariot where Arjun is sitting right in the middle of both armies. And then what happens? Then from verse 15 to 19, all the major players, the warriors, they blow their conch shells. And their conch shells, they have the names. So Lord Krishna has a conch shell which names is Panchjanya. Now there's a story behind it, which I will do, but let's do the circle. Arjun's conch shells. So even the conch shell had a name, and it was a very different. Now I have a shank, and we blow in the morning. And if you see in the market, there are so many of them. Some of them you can see they are very distinct. They are different. There are different varieties of them. But some of them, they are very simple. But these were the warriors, Kshatriyas. They had their own, and there are stories behind how they got them. So Arjun got Devadatta, because he got it from demigods. So Deva, demis, devtas. Yudhishthir got Ananta Vijay, because Yudhishthir never lost anything. Bhima, Pondrik. Now Pondrik is the name of a very, very, very massive elephant. And because Bhima is as huge as elephant, so that's the name he got. Nakul got Sughosha. Sahadev got Mani Pushpaka. These are basically the auspicious names. So all of them were there. They also blew. Now Lord Krishna, what happened? Anyone knows Lord Krishna's father's name? Or let's say Lord Krishna's guru's name, teacher. Anyone knows Lord Krishna's teacher's name? No? Okay. Lord Krishna's teacher name was Sandipuni. Sandipuni. And he is, or he was, where...
What was the name?
Sandipuni. I will write it for you. Right? I will write it for you. It's, well, again, I will write it in English. That's the closest I can think in English. But it's obviously a Sanskrit name. And you can say, like Sandeep is a name, usually they become Sandys these days. So you can remember Sandy Muni, but Sandeep Muni. And there is when we pronounce in Sanskrit, there's a bit of accent as well there. But Sandeep Muni, you could remember that way. And what other students used to learn in years. Lord Krishna and Lord Balrama, they both were brothers, they went together to learn. And those days in Gurukul, the students used to go there, they used to stay there with the teacher. Right? So these days, you kids, you go, and I did the same many years back. We used to go to this school, come back every evening. That wasn't the case many years back. There were Gurukuls, and there are still Gurukuls in India, where, these days we have boarding schools. But boarding schools, the idea is very similar. But Gurukuls, where the teacher was very spiritual, teacher used to teach because that was his work. He didn't have it wasn't a business as such, like these days boarding schools or any schools. So students used to live there. So Krishna, Balram, they went there and they stayed there. Within 64 days, they learned everything. So there are 64 different skills. So the teacher said, I can't teach you 2 skills in a day. I will teach you 1 skill in a day. And so the quickest time you can learn is 64. And that's what they both did. Otherwise, usually students take roughly 12 years to learn all that. But these two, they learned in 64 days. 64 days they learned. After they learned everything, they were leaving. There is something called Guru Dakshina. Dakshina is like the offering, the donation. You give something back to your guru. Now, this is something not material, not money. These days, if teachers will ask, teacher might ask some money, or maybe not. But those days, it's like many other teachers, there are many other interesting stories. But what Lord Krishna's teacher asked was very interesting. Lord Krishna's teacher said that I'm looking, so he had a son, and his son was, let's say, drowned in the water, right? And so he died. So he said, I can understand these things which other students learn in years, you both learned in 64 days, which is the minimum. I can't teach quicker than that. And that's the reason you have taken so long. Otherwise, you would have learned even quicker. I can understand you are not normal human beings. You are not ordinary. You are extraordinary. You seem to me like Lord, you can do anything. Now you're leaving and you're asking me what you could do for me because I'm your teacher. You want to give me Guru Dakshina? I would request you if you can bring our son back. So both husband and wife, the teacher and the wife of teacher, they said, could you please bring our dead son? Now, this has never happened in the history. In the scriptures, there is no other, well, there are a couple of other places, but again, only Krishna did it, where temporary, or permanently, in this case, for a longer time, the dead person came back to life. Lord Krishna said, no problem. I will go and I will get your son. Your dead son, I will bring back to life. And they could not believe, but they didn't. That's the maximum. That's the best thing they could think, and they asked for it. Lord Krishna, he went to the sea because the boy got drowned in the water. Now, in water, anybody knows the demigod, the Devta of water? What's his name? Like Indra is for rain. Okay, I think Shivani is ready. Shivani knows the answer for obvious reasons. Thank you. Okay. Yes?
I know how he looks like, but I forgot what his
Forgot the
name is.
name. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember the name of your father?
Varun?
Yes. Varun is actually the name of the Lord of the water. Varun Dev is the one who looks after water. Indra Dev, who looks after the rain. Similarly, Agni Dev, who looks after the fire. Pavan Dev, who looks after the wind. So Lord Krishna went to water god, or what we call demigod, who are Devi Devtas. So Lord Krishna said, could you please bring back the son of my guru, my teacher? And Varun Dev said, so sorry, I didn't drown. I didn't. But there is, let's say, a demon, a Rakshas is there in the water. He did it. So he might have, so you could go and get him. You can get the boy from him. So Krishna said, no problem. Krishna went inside the water, underwater, and now Krishna found that demon. That demon's name was Panja. And now if you read the name of the Shankh conch shell, Panchajanya, so the demon's name was Panja, and in his body he had a Shankha, because he was aquatic animal. You know, aquatic animals could have things in their body. So when Krishna killed that Pancha, then he found Panchajanya. Oh, sorry, the name I sent in the chat of Sandeep Muni, I only sent to Adi rather than everybody else, because Adi was sending me direct messages. So I just replied back. So maybe you didn't get it. But Panchajanya Shankh for Krishna was from that demon which Krishna killed to get his guru's son back. And then later he went somewhere else and then he found it. The story goes a bit further, but at the end Krishna found the boy and Krishna brought the son back and he gave to his guru. And that was his guru dakshina. This is how people used to do it, right? At one point, I will tell you another story of another guru dakshina. When Dronacharya asked something as a guru dakshina from Pandavas, and Arjun did it. Everybody, all the Pandavas were there, but Arjun was the main warrior to get something very strange back for Dronacharya. And these stories are there in the Shastras, which are very intrigued. Well, I get very intrigued by those stories. All right. So this is what happens between verse 15 to verse 19. Anyone got any questions or any curiosity on anything we have discussed so far?
Prabhuji,
Please, Shivani.
you said that you would tell us a story on the Manglacharan.
Manglacharan, yes. Which story I was saying that? Did I say on Manglacharan?
Yeah.
Did I say on Manglacharan? I did say one story about Manglacharan. Well, Manglacharan, we have done a presentation on Manglacharan. Like each word, what we see here in Sanskrit could be, and Adi is a typical example. Anyone? He's a classic example. Adi is very young, but Adi been with us for 1.5 or 2 years. And Adi could recite all these verses with us, which is great. So Shivani, if this story comes back to me, I will let you know.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for reminding that. So now going forward, verses 20 to 26 is still in chapter 1. Arjun asks Krishna to draw the chariot between two armies to see his relatives, because both sides he could see his relatives, because they were cousin brothers, because this is the fight between two cousins. Of course, this is a fight between religious and pious people, Pandavas, and not so pious people, Kurus. And one of the reasons Krishna explains in Bhagavad-Gītā why Krishna comes down on earth is to re-establish the religion. And that's the reason Krishna is there with Pandavas, because he would like to establish the religion, and Pandavas are very religious people. So this goes from 20 to 26. Now from onwards, there are 5, and we have done it before. Now there are some reasons when Arjun saw all of them, that, oh, they are my relatives, I'm going to fight, because Arjun, this is not the first fight of Arjun. Arjun is a warrior. He has fought many wars, many battles before. He knows when the battle is going to happen, people going to die. And he saw everyone around him. They were their friends, right? Pandav's friends, relatives, gurus, teachers, great-grandfathers, grandsons. He said, I can't fight with all of them. I don't want them to die. So he gives 5 reasons why he cannot or he will not fight. So he says, I cannot fight because of these reasons. The very first one he gives, compassion. So the way I say we can remember it is C, D, E, F, and then I cannot fight. C, D, E, F, I cannot fight. First one, compassion. He says, these are my relatives. I have compassion for them. I cannot fight with them. And then these are the symptoms given. See how detailed symptoms are there. It says that Arjun put his Gandhi, his bow down, which had a name, and he said, limbs quivering. His mouth is drawing up. See, these are the things what happen. They happen with us as well. A lot of time when we are stressed, a lot of times when we are confused, and a lot of time when we do public speaking, when we need to recite something at the front of the audience, these things happen with us. Our mouth, our whole body, our hair, our hands, our skin, our legs, right? We call it that somebody got cold feet. What does that mean, cold feet? Means whatever the person was about to do or supposed to do, the person is not confident enough to do that anymore, right? This is what we call the person got cold feet. And then many phrases with that. But this is what happened with Arjun. And this is what Sanjay has explained, that I could see that it's happening with Arjun. And then he said, forgetting myself, and my mind is reeling, like my mind is so disturbed. And due to this weakness of my heart, remember, his body was good. It was not the weakness of his body, it was the weakness of his mind. And that's the first lesson we take from Krishna, how Krishna is going to reply back. But that's how we can understand that why Bhagavad-Gītā is so relevant for us, right? Because it's not that we will read Bhagavad-Gītā and we will become physically strong. Well, we will, because in chapter 18, we are going to find out how to eat, what to eat, right? But mainly it's for the mind. Now, it doesn't really matter how much body we make. If our mind is not supported, we are not going to do anything well, whatever we will do. Similar thing, if you think about it, there are many things we can relate to. For example, you guys prepare yourself for the exams. The book is right at the front of you. You got the exam tomorrow, but your mind is somewhere else. Your mind is disturbed. Maybe because somebody in the family is sick. Maybe your pet is sick. Maybe your favorite team has lost the game of football or American football, right? So what happens? Your mind is disturbed. The book is right at the front of you. You cannot control your mind. And that's where Bhagavad-Gītā is going to help you, along with many other things, right? So these are many. So it says, sees only cause misfortune. Like whenever these things will happen with any one of us, we know something is wrong. And this is what Arjun is saying. Arjun said, something is wrong. It's going wrong. So now Arjun goes along and Arjun gives many more. Remember, I said C, I said D, then E, then F, and then I. So the C is for compassion. And then the next reason Arjun gives is enjoyment. He says, if everybody is going to die, then how I will enjoy? With whom I will enjoy? Now, so nice things. Let's say you are first in your class, or you won the gold medal, but there is no one for you to tell. You can't tell anyone. You can't share this news with anyone. Are you going to be happy? Can you enjoy anything alone? No. Think about it. Next time you win something, don't share with anyone. And you will say, I'm not that happy. But then after waiting for a bit, share with someone. And then you see, when you will share, your happiness will grow. You will enjoy more. And this is what Arjun is saying, that even if I will win this kingdom, but what will happen? I will not enjoy, because the people I will enjoy with, they all are here. They're going to die. So C for compassion. And then D for destruction. He said the whole family is going to get destructed. I don't want this to happen, because in the family, traditions are very important. And fathers usually give the tradition to the next generation, and then it goes down. And all the fathers are here fighting. When they will die, they will not able to give the tradition to their children. And if they can't do that, then that all the traditions are going to get lost. Family traditions will not be there anymore. So C for compassion, D for destruction of family tradition, and then E for enjoyment, C, D, E, F for fear. He said, I'm fearful of sinful reactions, killing someone. So not only that I have compassion for them, but even if I will kill them, like I will kill my teacher, Kripacharya, Dronacharya, if I will kill Bhishma Pitama, I will kill my cousin brothers, I'm going to get sin. It's not good. This is what Arjuna is saying. So C, D, E, F. And after that, he says, Arjun, overwhelmed with grief, cast aside his bow and arrows and sat down in the chariot. And he says that I cannot fight. I am indecisive. C for compassion, D for destruction, E for enjoyment, F for fear, I for indecisive. Now, how many times it happens in our life when we reach to certain position in our life, we are unable to decide. For example, when you guys will reach to GCSE, you might have to make some choices, and you might not. Well, GCSE, so I know Devesh and Devika there in US, and GCSE is well, in India we have 10th standard. So this is what we say year 11, which I think is grade 10 of US. So this is the very first milestone. And then you have to make some decisions, whether you want to take this subject or that subject. And you sometimes we say we can't decide, you know. Well, sometimes we don't decide. We find it hard to decide which dress we wear, right? Shivani recently went to buy the glasses, and she was wondering which glass to buy, which she had her friend with her, and both of them spent so much time deciding on which frame they will go for. And they were indecisive for a while. So these things happen with us. What happened to Arjun happens with us. That's the very first thing from chapter 1, what we can learn. These 5 questions, what Arjun asked from Krishna, we ask from our parents, our teachers, our friends. And that's the reason we can understand how important it is to get the answer. Now, in chapter 2, it says the contents of Gita summarized. So usually the summary comes at the end, but here's the summary is going to come at the front. Why? Because when somebody asks the questions, we say, okay, I'll give you the answer in short. And this is what Krishna did. Krishna gave all the knowledge to Arjun briefly, all of it. But then Krishna saw Arjun and said, are you confused? You're looking very confused. Arjun said, yes, Krishna, I'm very confused. I want to ask you detailed questions. Krishna said, no worries. Let's go for it. You ask detailed questions, I will give you detailed knowledge. And then we move forward, chapter 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 onwards, right? But everything else in Gita going to be summarized in chapter 2. And there are, anyone remembers how many verses are there in chapter 2? Chapter 2 is the second largest, biggest, greatest by volume chapter in Bhagavad-Gītā. Well, anyone knows or remember?
Was it something in the 80s, I think?
Okay, here we go. So, chapter 18 has 78. Thank you. That was a good guess, because chapter 2 has 72. So 78, that's the conclusion, chapter 18. And chapter 2 is the summary, 72 verses, right? And then we have certain in, well, there seems to be only 1 in 50. There are few in 40, otherwise 20 is the least. 20, chapter 12 is the least. Otherwise, everything in between. 2270, 72, 78, 78, chapter 18, 72, chapter 2. It's good to, and as we will go along, we will see, we will remember them.
Abhijit,
Yes, please, Shivani.
I know this is very random, but my favorite picture in the Bhagavad-Gītā
Mhm.
is the one, yeah, is this one.
Okay, nice. We will discuss this. Yes.
And it's my favorite one since it mentions it shows that what you become in your next lifetime.
Yes.
It shows that, like, if you do exposure,
Mhm.
then you'll turn into a tree.
Yes.
And then if you sleep a lot, you'll turn into a bear.
Yeah.
And if you eat a lot of meat,
Mhm.
you'll become into a tiger,
Yes.
a lion. And somebody who eats a lot of food will turn into a pig.
Mhm.
And
That's
it's and my other one is the youth page.
Yes.
This one.
Yes. Yeah.
This page where
Uh-huh.
it shows the life cycle.
Yes. That's
Yeah.
right. There's a that verse is a Nahan.
Karpanyadosha, I think.
Oh, right. Yes.
Is it there he does spin your their hair?
The one after that.
Um,
Najayate Mriyate Va Kadachin Nahan. Yeah. So we will do these verses. These are Sanskrit verses, but we will do them in English. We can recite Sanskrit verses as well if you like. And so Shivani been learning some. Shivani, do you remember any Sanskrit verse? You would like to? Any of your favorite verse?
Karpanyadosha Bhata Swabhava Prajanita Dharma Samura Cheta Yache Shadichita Bruhitat Me Shishyasitam Shadimam Tvam Prapannam.
Thank you so much for that verse. That verse will be the very first verse we will do in our next class, because that verse is chapter 2, 7th verse. Karpanna dosho upahata sabhava. What Arjun says to Krishna, then that, so Arjun gave these 5 reasons. C, D, E, F, I. C for compassion, D for destruction, E for enjoyment, F for fear of sinful reaction, and I am indecisive. I can't fight.
Yeah, can I see the translation? Since
All
I
right,
wrote
go
it
for
down?
it. Yeah.
Now I'm confused about my duty and lost all composure because of my weakness. In this condition, I am asking you to tell me clearly what is best for me. Now I'm your disciple and so surrendered unto you. Please instruct me.
That's fine. Thank you so much for that, Shivani. So far in chapter 1, Arjun been explaining what he thinks. So Arjun is giving his own reasons why I don't want to fight. Like what I say, C, D, E, F, I. That goes on until 2.6, chapter 2, verse 6. Verse 7 of chapter 2, the very first time, Arjun is going to sit down and Arjun is going to say, Krishna, I need your help. I need your help. Until then, very patiently, Krishna is listening, because Arjun is just sharing his heart. Arjun is not asking for anything. He's just saying, this will happen, that will happen. If I will do this is wrong, I can't do that. But chapter 2, verse 7, Karpanne dosho pahatas sabhava. The very first time Arjun is going to say, surrender to Krishna, he will say, I'm a soul surrender unto you. Please instruct me. And that's how we ask the question. If we need to speak, especially from our spiritual master, spiritual teacher, we explicitly make it clear that we need your help. Please give us the wisdom, which will clarify all our doubts, right? So that's how we will start in next session, chapter 2, and we will see the summary, right? Anyone would like to say anything on anything you have learned? Any one thing? Could be more than two, could be more than one, could be 2, 3, 4. At least one thing. Anything you remember from today's session? Anything you will take away with you? Could be the story.
Babaji,
Shivani, please.
I have a question. It says that chapter 18 is chapter 18 is page 78, right? So, but then how is there like about, I'm just trying to figure out, there's like 990 pages in the Bhagavad-Gītā when there's only like few.
Okay, I will see the Bhagavad-Gītā, Shilpa. It should be okay. I will show you.
Okay.
Yes. Great.
Okay.
Thank you. Any one thing from anyone? We are drawing to the close, top of the hour, as we say. Anyone would like to share any one single thing?
God doesn't help you unless you ask for it.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Divesh. Very nice. So God doesn't help us until we ask for it. Very nice learning. And we will see more verses in Bhagavad-Gītā on that. Great. Anyone would like to say any last words? All right. Okay. No, Shivani says no. All right. Thank you so much. Pleasure to have you, all of you. Look forward to see you next Sunday, 5 p.m. And we will continue from chapter 2. Think about what we have been doing this session throughout the week. Any question which will come in your mind, come prepared. Ask me next time. And we will discuss more on chapter 2, which is a summary of the whole Bhagavad-Gītā. With that, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gurudev Maharaj ki jai, Sambhat ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Sorry, I got disconnected.
It's all right. Adi, I know you were going. Sorry, Devesh or Devika, you were saying something?
Babaji, could you send us the cover picture of Bhagavad-Gītā?
Sure, we'll send you that. Yes. Yes, we'll do that. Okay.
We want to buy it.
Hare Krishna. Very
Hare
nice.
Krishna, Babaji.
Hare Krishna. All
Hare
the blessings
Krishna.
for you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Bye.